while the first phase of this trial was ongoing, my mom visited me just like she'd been doing every week since trial began. She told me that after leaving the courthouse, she was idling at a stoplight and she happened to look over at the car next to her. And Travis's siblings were in that car. My mom and I were silent for a few moments when she finally voiced exactly what I was thinking. She said, "I know they're going through hell." Yet nothing drove that point home for me more than when I heard them speak last week. I never meant to cause them so much pain. When Stephen said he read on Travis's 3x5 card that it said, "Call Stephen," and that he never got that call, I know that's because of me. And when Samantha showed us the last picture that she took with Travis, I know it's because of me that will always be the last picture that she'll ever take with Travis. Throughout this trial, I've avoided looking at Travis's family for a variety of reasons that I won't go into. But I've wondered, where is his grandma? Is she here? I didn't learn until last week what happened to her. Samantha said that Travis was the glue to their family. Around Thanksgiving in 2007, Travis called me. He was really upset. He said his grandmother was ill and frail and that he didn't know if she was going to make it. He said he didn't know what his family would do if she didn't make it because she was the glue to their family. To know now that both are gone and that I may have also inadvertently induced her passing destroys me. Every time I've had the thought or desire to commit suicide, there's one element that has almost always caused me to waver. They're sitting right over there. They're my family. At times, I've lost track of that element. For example, the incident I testified to when I took my razor apart at the Siskiyou County Jail. I managed to convince myself that they would get over the pain with time, and that in the long run I was doing them a favor by unburdening them of my presence in their lives. I wrote a bunch of them goodbye letters, addressed specifically to each person, and in the letters I didn't focus so much on explanations, but on how much and why I loved each of them. Then I wrote a general explanatory letter to help them understand my decision. At that time, I saw it as taking myself off of life support. I didn't know a lot of anything about prison at that time, and I didn't think it was fair to expect my family to have to support me for the rest of my life. I didn't know then that if I got life instead of death, I could become employed and self-reliant. I didn't know that if I got life, there are many things I can do to affect positive change and contribute in a meaningful way. In prison, there are programs I can start and people I can help. My hair was past my waist, and I donated it to Locks of Love, the nonprofit which creates wigs for cancer patients who've lost their hair. In fact, that was my third donation to that organization since I was arrested. If I'm allowed to live in prison, I will continue to donate to that organization for the rest of my life. Over the years I've spent in incarceration, I've received many requests from women to teach them Spanish or American Sign Language. Because my case was pending, I just didn't have the time. In prison, I will. If I'm sentenced to life, I will live among the general population of women, and I'll be able to share my knowledge of those subjects with them, the ones who have the desire to learn also. I may even be able to start classes. If I get permission, I'd like to implement a recycling program. The women's prison in Goodyear houses thousands of women, and each week, huge loads of waste are hauled off to a landfill. A substantial portion of that could be kept out of landfill and recycled instead. It may even create new jobs for the people there. You've heard before that I'm an artist. As it now stands, I'll never create another oil painting. but these are some of my drawings. I'm pretty good with hands and nature. I invest in portraits. There's Frank Sinatra, Elvis Presley, Elizabeth Taylor. This picture is a little distorted. This is my niece when she was a bit younger, playing the piano, while attempting to play the piano. My family and I have a lot of memories, especially ones like this at Christmas. We won't be creating any more of these kinds of memories together. This is how I used to spend the holidays with my family. It was Carl's idea to hold my portrait in this Christmas family photo taken a few years ago. My parents were there, my siblings were there, my brother's wife was there. From now on, this is how my family is going to spend the holidays with me. Instead, I was hoping to go quietly into the night, whether off to prison or the next life. But with the amount of attention my case received early on, I felt in my ignorance that it was necessary to speak out. I got on TV and I lied. I lied about what I did, and I lied about the nature of my relationship with Travis. It's never been my intention to malign his name or character. In fact, it was a goal of mine to preserve his reputation. I didn't want to drag out Travis's skeletons or mine and explain my experiences with them. I didn't want to unveil all of those ugly text messages and emails and that awful tape. All these things which now stand as a public and permanent testimony of the darker aspects of our relationship. To 18 strangers, in front of Travis's family, in front of my family, in front of what feels like the whole world. It's never been my intention to throw mud on Travis's name. When I took the stand, I was obligated to answer the questions posed to me. And if you'll remember, many times I was quick to defend him in the same breath. I loved Travis, and I looked up to him. At one point, he was the world to me. This is the worst mistake of my life. It's the worst thing I've ever done. It's the worst thing I ever could have seen myself doing. In fact, I couldn't have seen myself doing it. Before that day, I wouldn't even want to harm a spider. I'd gather them up in cups and put them outside. To this day, I can hardly believe I was capable of such violence, but I know that I was. And for that, I'm going to be sorry for the rest of my life. Probably longer. I was horrified by what I'd done, and I'm horrified still. In many ways, my family has also suffered a great loss. Their pain is fresh because they only learned about it 2 weeks ago, the moment the verdict was read. The moment their hopes of ever welcoming me home someday were dashed. My dad, who's here today, was in California, awaiting anxiously in front of the TV. My mom came to visit me after court that dark day. She had spoken to my dad on the way over, and she told me that in the 34 years that they've been together, she's never heard him cry the way he did that day. I've caused that pain. I've caused them to hurt that way. And I will concede that with Travis's family, theirs is a much greater loss, and I can never make up for it. It's my hope that with the verdict you've rendered thus far, that they will finally gain a sense of closure. Stephen said he doesn't want to look at his brother's murderer anymore. If I get life, he won't have to. I've made many public statements that I would prefer the death penalty to life in prison. Each time I said that, though I meant it, I lacked perspective. Until very recently, I could not have imagined standing before you all and asking you to give me life. To me, life in prison was the most unappealing outcome I could possibly think of. I thought I'd rather die. But as I stand here now, I can't in good conscience ask you to sentence me to death because of them. Asking for death is tantamount to suicide. Either way, I'm going to spend the rest of my life in prison. It'll either be shortened or not. If it's shortened, the people who will hurt the most are my family. I'm asking you, please, please don't do that to them. I've already hurt them so badly, along with so many other people. I want everyone's healing to begin, and I want everyone's pain to stop. Thank you.